This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
You're plugged in for the Podcast Wrestling Society. Give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PODWRES Society.
Faith is the place, and the sky's the limit.
Now, your host, he is the
one and only
Troy Adams.
The end is near. The end of the decade, that is. And we're counting it down here on the Podcast Wrestling Society. I'm your loving leader, benevolent host, Midwest Monster, and I did it for The Rock. I did it for the people. I am Troy Adams, and hopping on the train with me yet again today, chugging along to the new year and a little closer to our Armageddon, he is the Perry Saturn to my Dean Malenko. He is the radical Delvin Cox from the Delvin Cox Experience. What's up, man?
Nothing much, brother. I did it for The Rock, brother. I did it for The Rock.
You and I were talking about this. Rikishi, who is a big part of what we're going to be talking about today, as of the posting of this, was trending on Twitter. And you said, you filled me in as because that is she a rapper? Like,
she's like a musician. Like, she's known for like being very diverse with her music. Like, she plays like the flute, and her big thing is she plays the flute and twerk. Her name's Lizzo. For those who don't know, I'm quite sure people know who Lizzo is. She's a big African American woman who's a musician. She sings, she raps a little bit, and stuff like that. But she went to a Lakers game in a thong, and like the thong had tassels around it, so people started calling her Rikishi, which got Rikishi trending on Twitter.
Holy hell. Well, and she is apparently 100% that, you know what.
Yeah.
According to her DNA test. But before we get into all of the Armageddon 2000 Attitude Era goodness, we got to let you know that support for Podcast Wrestling Society comes from Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Jingle balls to the walls, fellas. Listen up, untrimmed pubes are a thing of the past. It's time to gear up and get yourself the gift of shaving this holiday season. I'm talking about the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. We just carved up the turkey a couple of weeks ago, and here before long we're going to be carving up a nice Christmas ham or a roast beast. Don't be carving up your sack meat. As Delvin said the last time he was on the show, nobody likes bloody balls. That's why this revolutionary company, Manscaped, has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. It's all waterproof as well, so you can use it in the shower. The Lawnmower 2.0 comes inside of their Perfect Package 2.0, which makes for the perfect gift this holiday season. It's literally everything you need to keep trimmed, cut-free, and smelling nice down there. Santa should be the only one this season with a big red sack. And don't use the same trimmer on your face as you're using on your balls. That's just nasty. The Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0 also includes the Crop Preserver and Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant and Moisturizer. I use it every single day without fail. You already put deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? And yes, your balls do stink. Speaking of sweaty and stinky balls, I'm thankful for the Crop Reviver. This product, along with Crop Preserver, keep your balls from sweating, smelling, and sticking. Thank you very much to Manscaped for that. And these products smell good. Their manly scent is attractive and will help set the mood, if you know what I mean. The Perfect Package will also come with a pair of Manscaped boxer briefs. They'll keep your junk feeling fresh all day. It's time to upgrade those overused pair of boxers to Manscaped's high-performance anti-chafing boxer briefs. 'Tis the season to Manscaped, so get yourself, your dad, your brother, and friends the best gift of all, the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. It's a great gift whether you're celebrating Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, whatever the hell. or you just want to give a gift just because one of these days, we're going to tell you how to save some money. You can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BIGHEADS. That's BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. That's MANSCAPED.com. Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off with free shipping with the code BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code BIGHEADS. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. But anyway, man, getting right into it, we're going to be talking about WWE, or at the time, WWF Armageddon 2000. As of the posting of this, we are exactly 19 years and 1 day removed from this show, which makes me feel old. Yeah.
Really old. Like, I remember elements of this show a lot. And I think when this show happened, I was probably like 20 years old. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was 10.
That's a little window on how old I am.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 10 years older than I am. I will say, before we hop into the event, because there's a lot to get into with the event, with just a lot of 2000s stuff going on here. Some of it you definitely would not see in the year 2019. Some of it's just I wish we could see again in 2019. Just a lot of stuff, man, and a lot of great talent. Some have passed away. Some have just stepped away from the ring completely.
I will get into this. I will say this about this pay-per-view. There is a lot of man-on-woman violence in this pay-per-view.
Yeah,
which I didn't expect at all.
Yeah, it's not something I enjoy seeing in a wrestling ring. I know a lot of people are going on about, we need intergender wrestling and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's not even like that type of wrestling. It's like just the guy just straight beating on a woman in a match. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
How was this okay?
It's a little hard to watch. It was hard to watch. But there's good elements, bad elements, and everything else to this show. We'll definitely dive into all that. But I wanted to ask you about some of the news that has come out so far. There's a lot of stuff that's been piling on the last week at least, if not longer, especially the last couple days. So within a week, maybe less than that, ACH, or known as in WWE as Jordan Myles for like a hot minute, he after complaining about racism and throwing everybody under the bus and just making a gigantic ass out of himself, and it's not because he complained about racism. People have done that in the past, and I'm like, okay, cool. I could see, validation. Maybe he had a point, but it was buried under him just being an ass. Like, I think you and I touched on it at one point. I mean, how did you feel about that situation?
It's a complete mess, and the fact of the matter is that he, thus far, it went from people kind of being sympathetic for him, then when they heard the full story. This is kind of like how social media kind of works. Like, somebody get outraged about something, people feel sympathetic for that person, then the full story will come out and people are like, no, that person's a horrible person. I think that's kind of what's happening with this guy, man. He's like, he says these things about WWE that are inflammatory, and the shirt was a bad idea. That's neither here nor there, but it comes to a point now where he has to start placing the blame on himself.
Well, he made it.
Now he's bashing the business completely.
Yeah, because he made a huge scene, made a gigantic ass out of himself on top of everything else. He didn't just complain about racism in the industry or in the company or whatever. He went above and beyond all that. And then they let him out of his contract. He posts a picture on social media of himself signing his release papers. And then within a week, he signs to MLW. They act like this is a big deal, even though, look, before he did all this, I mean, ACH was cool. But how many people were like, yeah, ACH, he's awesome. I want to see him.
I didn't know who he was till this happened, to be honest with you. No clue.
I saw him live in Ring of Honor. He's good. He's not stand out though. He's a weeb. I assume you know what a weeb is.
Yes.
Okay. For all of you out there, I figured you did. For all of you out there who don't know what a weeb is, and I think I've dropped that word a couple times on the show, mostly about Kenny Omega. It's a non-Japanese person, like an American, that's super into Japanese culture, mostly anime. ACH was very into Dragon Ball Z to the point of where his attire looked like he just put on something that looked like Goku would wear.
Austin Creed's kind of like that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Austin Creed. Xavier Woods, he's a huge weeb. And he's a brony and every other label. But ACH would like, and he'd do like, he did the very indie stuff where like, how like in fighting games, like certain like Japanese characters would like yell things during their fights. Well, yes. Well, he did like the Falcon, or not the Falcon thing. Who's the guy that does Falcon Punch? I can't think of his freaking name. Captain Falcon.
That's Captain Falcon.
Yeah.
From,
yeah.
F-Zero.
Yeah, I completely spaced there. But he would do the thing like he'd go to kick somebody, he'd be like, "Show me your moves" and stuff like that. Like it was like hardcore nerdy. I dug him. And he did stuff in New Japan, whatever. And then he went to WWE, fell off the map, which is hilarious. And then he did all this, goes to MLW. And then, as soon as I make a big deal out of him going to MLW, he puts this on Twitter. He said, "I hate pro wrestling. I hate you." And I'm going to clean it up. "I hate you crappy fans that think you know it all. More importantly, I hate the snakes in this industry. None of y'all would never say anything about me to me. All of y'all can go screw yourselves. I'm canceling my shows and I'm quitting pro wrestling. Chasing my dreams was great, but you self-entitled pricks ruin everything. I'm out."
I have a question I just thought about.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so weird that he's doing this type of stuff now that I'm fascinated by. Is it a work or is it a shoot in terms of? Because I can understand if he was doing this as like a shoot character to try to get this over. I say that kind of makes sense because that's kind of what Seth Rollins is kind of doing now, where he's taking elements of reality and kind of melding it together with your wrestling gimmick. But
yeah, he's leaning into people hating him.
Yes,
which is what Roman Reigns should have done. But that's neither here nor there.
Definitely, I agree with that as well. But it's just to sit there and say these comments about something that's brought you so much opportunities, it's kind of disheartening in terms of like maybe he's burnt out, maybe the whole WWE situation left a bad taste in your mouth. But comments like that and burning your bridges in one of the most viable times in wrestling sounds insane. Like think about it like this: you have AEW on TV every week, you have WWE. You have all MLW. You have all these wrestling companies that are striving right now, doing really good. So it's kind of weird to see somebody sit there and was like, "Nah, I'm done with wrestling. This sucks. There's so many snakes in the grass. I'm done. I'm out." Especially when it's doing so well.
Well, the thing is, I think it was one of them where it's like, he made such a big deal out of, well, I want out of WWE. Let me out. I want to be free. I want to do my own thing. I'm going to be the biggest star in the business. They let him go, and nobody wanted him except for MLW. And then people actually, like, backers of him actually acted like that was a big deal. Like, MLW's got some cool talent. They're doing cool stuff, indies, whatever. They're not overstepping their bounds, which is good because, you don't want to get a big head. But then he goes to MLW and then quits the business before he even has a one match. Okay. I think he realized he wasn't as big a deal as he thought he was, and he got all butthurt about it.
It's possible. I can hardly see that being a thing, and reality hitting him kind of struck him hard, but I don't think you should go out on a bad note and badmouth the business like that for your shortcomings and downfall.
Well, no, he's according to him, he's the greatest wrestler on planet Earth, man. Come on. So,
yeah,
he's pulling a Colin Kaepernick, in my opinion.
Not in a good way.
No, yeah, no. He made a big deal out of things. He made a big stink. Nobody wants to touch him because of that. He's not as viable as he thought he was, and that big of a name as he thought he was. And now he's going to act like a martyr.
Yeah, I can see that being in comparison. But I would also add that he probably is not good at Colin Kaepernick is at his job. Like Colin Kaepernick at one point was a top quarterback in the NFL. I would never think of this guy as being anybody who is viable in wrestling at this point of his career.
No, he's a super entertaining little dude. But, I mean, like, he's a small man. And I realize, people are like, whoa, size doesn't always mean anything. Like, I get it. But, like, I think he's smaller than Daniel Bryan. He's a little dude.
Wow.
I think he's smaller than Rich Swann. And Rich Swann was, relegated to the cruiserweights and left on that purple island of misfit toys.
Yeah.
but one guy who was like in his corner and is a big proponent of, the wrestling business is racist and all that other stuff is Chad Gaspard, who some may remember as one half of Crime Time from back in the day.
Yep.
He tweeted to him and said, on that note, shut the F up. If all you can do is badmouth and talk down people and the business after people have gone out of their way to understand and help you, then F off. Talent gets you so far in life, but it's obvious your character is one of an attention-seeking ass who wants sympathy while burning others. Grow up and understand the world doesn't revolve around you. This business, as well as life, doesn't cater to one individual, so either suck it up and do something or shut the F up, because this bipolar crying crap is getting old.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. It's like, step it up, dude. Frickin' Kofi Kingston overcame it. Yeah, sure, it took forever, but, I mean, there's not that big of a gap anymore as there was back in the day.
There are a lot of people who overcame those type of obstacles that kind of did well for themselves. I'll even go as far as saying, look at Alberto Patron. He got 2 chances with WWE and blew them both. Then went to TNA, blew that chance.
Yeah.
He made a career of blowing chance, and I liked when Alberto Del Rio was in his prime. I liked him a lot. So it was so disappointing to see all the stuff he's done to like ruin that legacy of his.
When he turned babyface that first time and started wearing the Mexican colors and getting the crowd to chant C and whatever, like, I was big in Alberto. I thought he was great. But I even thought he was a fantastic heel. But
yeah, I agree.
He couldn't keep his mouth shut. He couldn't keep his temper in check. And he just proved week in and week out that he was an ass.
Yeah, shades of Eddie Guerrero in terms of personality, like.
Yeah,
he just couldn't keep it together.
Yeah, the fiery Latino temper definitely came into play. At least Eddie could keep his in check to management, and he wasn't, making a complete ass out of himself. Like, oh, come on out and fight me at such and such address or whatever. Like he's in high school. Like, give me a break. I couldn't believe that when Alberto called out like the New Day and the Usos and Triple H come meet him at his bar and so he could fight them. Like, good Lord. I remember
that's during the whole controversy of, I'm not bringing that controversy up, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to touch on, I promise after the break we'll get into the pay-per-view, but some big stuff. Sin Cara / Hunico was officially released from his WWE contract. The Ascension quietly were released from their contracts, and Luke Harper is finally gone. He's finally released.
That's the big one.
Contract. I will say that, like, anybody I know who's a hardcore WWE fan is like, woo, Luke Harper, who cares? Why should I care? He's not going to move the needle. My thing is, you don't know if he's going to move the needle. He hasn't had the chance. He's a good wrestler.
I will say this. When I saw he got released, I got super excited for AEW. Because I thought of like, yo, this is the thing that AEW kind of needs. They need big, strong, working guys that can be menacing and terrifying. And it seems like AEW, that's kind of what they're lacking right now. They've got, 2, maybe 3 big tough guys that are really like big in size, that are intimidating factors.
Right.
Luke Harper would fit in there perfectly.
Yeah, they got Luchasaurus and Jake Hager, and I think that's about it.
And the other guy who's with MJF right now, I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah, the Mexican guy. I think he's Mexican. I'm not trying to be racist with it if he's not Mexican, but he's Hispanic.
Yeah, the Latino guy.
Yeah, the Maldo.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, that guy.
Something like that.
I think he has a top knot or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the three. I don't want him to come in and just like run roughshod on everybody, but like oddly enough, like Arn Anderson is super high on him.
Yeah, I heard him say on his podcast how much potential Luke Harper has.
Which I didn't picture him as the guy that Arn Anderson would be like, that's him. But I mean, he's legit 6'5", 6'6", and he can throw drop kicks and everything else. Like, dang.
And he's a solid worker, a really good worker. So it kind of balances out, makes sense. He's a big guy who's a good worker, who probably, if you put him with the right gimmick, he probably could be a cool character. Like whether it's kind of like the Wyatt family gimmick, but on his own, that could probably be cool. Maybe something like I think he's Arn Anderson said something like a Cape Fear gimmick will work for him good.
Yeah, like the original Wyatt family. Yeah, I mean that could work. I don't want him to go back to being like a hobo trucker.
No.
I think like a darker, sinister, creepy gimmick could really work for him. Like,
yes,
I would say like a Bray Wyatt, but not with the family. Just like a loner, and he's just creepy. He's in the shadows, and he pops out to destroy people, and then he leaves. I will say this. Go ahead.
I will even add into this that AEW kind of feels like they need people who are legitimate main event guys. Because right now it kind of feels like, okay, we got Jericho with the belt. He already beat Cody. He already beat Kenny Omega. He's going to have to eventually fight Jon Moxley. And after Jon Moxley, he beat Hangman Page. Who else is there really that people were really clamoring to see him beat?
Yeah, because Pac is a heel right now, and I don't want to see him. I think Pac needs to do a little bit more before he's like thrust into I'm the main event guy. And while I think he has the talent, I think, people like him and people recognize him, but I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh man, Pac is in the main event. He's the world champion. I need to tune into AEW. I think if they build him up the right way, still, I think he could be that guy.
I agree.
I will say this: I'm a huge fan, always have been, of the Ascension. I don't want to see them go to AEW, at least not now.
Yeah, not now.
I want to see them go to New Japan because there are some big bruiser teams over there. I think the Ascension could fit in good with we just beat the snot out of each other mentality. I mean, that doesn't exist in AEW right now. All their teams are smaller. The only one is Jurassic Express has Luchasaurus, but the other guys on the team are very small.
Super small.
And there's a new team. They're not exactly big dudes. The Blade and the Butcher.
Blade.
Yeah, the Butcher and the Blade. Which is, I think that's Pepper Parks, and I guess the other guy is indie wrestler who's also like in a heavy metal band. I don't know.
Yeah, but even with them, they're basically a tag team, so you won't really see them that much in singles action.
Yeah. Well, I think the Ascension should stay a tag team because I think they're great, and when they wrestled together, they had great tag team continuity. But I think that would get over great in Japan. I think they could have a good career over there.
I do too.
At least build up a name and recreate yourself over there. Like before, Moxley popped up first in AEW, and then after that, he had kind of a break. And before we saw him again, he kind of changed his image a little bit in New Japan, and then he popped up full-time in AEW.
Yeah.
So I think the Ascension could do that. Everybody's right away. They're all these guys going to AEW. I'm like, why? Like Sin Cara, he's great, but I don't want to see him in AEW.
Yeah, not everybody belongs there.
Yeah, I think he would do well in AAA or CMLL. I mean, I don't know what gimmick he would use, but they've got in AAA they've got Mistezzi's Jr. The original Mistezzi's was, I'll just run down. Pick a gimmick, Caristico, Mystico, the original Sin Cara, whatever. So maybe he could go in and take that gimmick again, and be like, "Oh, I'm Mistezzi's. No, I'm not bigger now. I don't have a random tattoo. Like, that'd be funny." But yeah, I think he could do great down there, and he speaks the language and he speaks English, so he could work with everybody,
which is good.
Yeah, but I don't think he would do anything in AEW right now. I don't think he'd do anything for them other than, make everybody go, they're picking up WWE cast-offs again.
Yeah, I agree. He's not that big enough of a character that makes it appealing to go after him.
Build yourself up, try it later. Or if you want to go back to WWE, whatever. I think he should go to, if he went to CMLL, he could join Los Ingobernables. I think he'd do well there.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Or he could go against them, one of the two. I guess LA Park, the original La Parca, recently joined Los Ingobernables, which kind of shocked me, but they need members. Hall of Fame, forgot to mention Batista and the NWO.
I thought the NWO was in. I swear I thought it was in already.
So did I. The funny thing is, they're like, the four they picked are the four that I think of when I think of the NWO. However, they're not because Hulk Hogan tweeted out, he was like, the original four. It's not the original four. X-Pac was, or 6, or whatever the hell you want to call him, was member number 6.
Yes.
Ironically enough. Ted DiBiase and somebody else that was before him.
Okay, who are we counting? Are we counting Eric Bischoff, or are we just counting the wrestlers?
Well, Bischoff wasn't officially a part of he didn't reveal himself as part of the NWO until way later.
Yes.
But 6 was member number 6. I can't remember. It was Ted DiBiase revealed himself as member number 4 in the crowd one night, and then he held up like 5 fingers to symbolize there was like a 5th man. I can't remember. I know it was somebody that didn't exactly move, make everybody go, "Ooh, it's him."
Was it Rick Rude?
No, I don't. Was Rick Rude ever a part of the NWO? I don't think so.
I think he was a part of NWO at one point. I think him and Perfect was a part of NWO, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember. Either way, 6 was not one of the original 4, but they want to give all 4 of these guys 2 rings. So,
okay, I found out who it was.
Who?
It was the Giant.
The Giant was the 5th man?
Yes.
Wow. I had forgotten about that.
Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, then Hulk Hogan, then Ted DiBiase, then the Giant. And now, see, this one gets a little murky. They're saying the 6th man was NWO's thing, but it really was kind of 6.
Yeah. He was like an unofficial, like, tag-along member, kind of. I mean, I'm not saying the NWO doesn't belong in, but why is 6 tagging along? And the thing is,
I think 6. When I thought of in the classic NWO, I always thought of 6. I don't barely remember Million Dollar Man being in it. But if I was to put in 4 members of the NWO, I'd probably put in Hogan, Hall, Nash, and Bischoff. That's what I would do personally.
I would just put in Hogan, Hall, and Nash and leave it at that.
Yeah,
that's
true too.
That was the big three, the original three, the ones that when I think of the core of the NWO, is them.
Yes.
And the thing is, Sean Waltman hasn't gone in by himself. He's went in as part of DX, and now as part of the NWO.
Well, that's probably what it is then. They probably wanted to get one of their guys essentially in with the NWO. Like, hey, he was here too. Even though, if you really look at it, he wasn't there that long for the NWO thing. No,
he was there maybe a year with the NWO.
Yes. He was great in the NWO, but he wasn't there that long as an NWO member.
Right. I don't know. He's more synonymous with DX for sure.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, his whole name in WWE revolved around X-Pac. So he was the most proud member that always shouted "suck it" every 5 seconds.
Yes. I'm happy he's getting in though. I don't know if it's well reserved or not. X-Pac seemed like a cool guy. So.
Well, what's funny is if he gets in on his own, then he'll be a 3 ring holder.
Yeah. And I can see him getting in for the 1, 2, 3 kid.
Yeah. Or even what he did as X-Pac. He did a lot as X-Pac.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so Big Dave Batista, I think, deservedly so. He might be a 2 ring holder if they put Evolution in, which would make Ric Flair a 3 ring holder.
Yeah. Did you see him flirting with Dana Brooke?
Yes. Everybody's obsessed with that.
I thought it was funny. I think it's cool.
Isn't he married?
I don't know.
I saw at the Hall of Fame when I went a couple years ago, Dana Brooke was with this gigantic black guy. Like, he was like bodybuilder, huge. I'm like, dang, it's like the Black Hulk.
I know her boyfriend passed away, what it was, last year, the year before last?
Oh, dang. What happened?
I don't remember what it was, but I remember that being a big story. And she took some time off, but her boyfriend literally passed away, I think it was last year. I think he was a bodybuilder or something like that.
That might have been that dude that we saw at WrestleMania 34. 34. I don't know. Yeah.
It was 2017 he died. August 24th, 2017. Dallas McCarver.
Yeah, it's probably him. Dang, that sucks. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I remember that being a whole big thing of him passing away. And she kind of being heartbroken over it. I think she stopped. I think she took a lot of time off around that time, too.
Yeah, she took a little bit of time off. I know that. I didn't see her around for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it's time we take our one and only break of the podcast. When we come back, on the other side of this, we will be discussing Armageddon 2000. It's what we've told you all about, and we're going to bring it to you right after this with all the backstory and all the goodness revolving what happened 19 years and 1 day ago from right now. We'll be right back.
The Instigator Podcast is the best source for Buffalo Sabres and NHL-focused discussion. Join us each week as we break down everything surrounding the Buffalo Sabres, the latest news from around the NHL, and feature select interviews with notable personalities from the hockey world. The Instigator Podcast can be found on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and just about anywhere else podcasts can be found. And we look forward to having you tune in for our next episode.
You have to watch it. It's so good.
It was all right.
Your friends may have decent taste in movies, but their incoherent reviews are getting annoying.
I don't know. I just didn't like it.
Looking for a new podcast?
Join Time Sensitive, where we break down the recent movies you've heard of, but may have missed.
Spoilers included.
And we get it. You're busy and can't see everything, but are you really going to track it down a year later?
We take the time so you don't have to.
Find us on Twitter @TSMoviePod and find out what we're watching.
I'm Sam.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Kate, and we're 3 friends and armchair movie critics. Seriously, invite us into your living room.
Kate, stop.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Time sensitive, because you deserve better.
We are the Two Green Browns, John Cahill and Neil Dunworth, bringing you the Irish view on all things Dog Pound.
As long-suffering fans, we promise to give you our honest opinion, along with the best of both local Cleveland celebrities, national media members, analytics darlings, and you never know, players have been known to stop by as well.
Find us on Twitter at Two Green Browns. We love to interact and spread the love. Most importantly, give us a listen on Apple Podcast. Search Two Green, and don't forget, go Brownies.
The 19th hole, a full hour of everything golf, from your local course to the PGA, LPGA, and more, with interviews of club pros and the world's best professional and amateur golfers.
All right, we are back, and I am with Delvin Cox from the Delvin Cox Experience. He has a great show that's available pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts.
That's true.
He is available on Twitter. You're on Facebook and Instagram too, right?
Yeah, I never use Facebook. I am on Instagram at Delvin _Cox. But just check me out there. Definitely want to talk wrestling. I'm down for that any day. I love wrestling. I don't talk about it as much as I can on my podcast because there's not necessarily the spot for it. But anytime people want to talk to me about wrestling, I'm always game and down for that.
He also wants to talk about PlayStation because he is on another podcast called the PlayStation Experience.
Yes.
What's the social media tag for that? Do you remember?
I think it's PlayStation XP.
All right. Yeah, go check that out. He's on a lot of experiences. So.
Yes. When that podcast first got named, like, y'all just going to name everything after me? That's fine. I'm fine with it. But
he's the star of the show. And I wrote in a little question for their next show, so definitely check that out and see.
My hilarious response to it.
I've got to check it out. I got to listen that week for sure. But yeah, WWF Armageddon 2000, man. The tagline, "Lord, I'm coming home to you."
That's a wild tagline.
That's some WCW stuff right there. WCW had the worst taglines in history. Yeah. This is up there, man. The date for this one was December 10th, 2000. The venue was I guess it's now called the Legacy Arena, but it was at the time called Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center in Birmingham, Alabama. Attendance 14,920. And this was the era, like last time you were on the show, when Sunday Night Heat was still a thing, and it was the pre-show. The pre-show match here is a good one. Here, you don't get much more Attitude Era than these names. Scotty 2 Hotty with Grandmaster Sexay, rest in peace. He defeated D'Lo Brown, and in his corner was Chaz and Tiger Ali Singh.
Wow. That is an Attitude Era flashback if I ever heard one.
Do you remember Tiger Ali Singh?
Yes, he was terrible.
Yeah, they were trying to go. They were trying to bring back an old gimmick from the territory days of Tiger Jeet Singh, who carried around a saber, and he was like the rich Arabic whatever, and he was like he sliced people open or whatever, and got a lot of heat. In the Attitude Era, this guy he was the Arabic $1 Million Man. And It was dumb. And he wasn't a good wrestler on top of it. And
yes.
And Chaz, I don't know if you remember, he was Headbanger Mosh, also known as Beaver Cleavage.
Who can forget Beaver Cleavage?
He had a MILF thing going on with his mom that was just really weird. Like, the woman who played his mom was a female bodybuilder who was his legit girlfriend in real life. And Beaver Cleavage dressed up like Beaver Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver. And they did black and white skits where he would make sexual puns with his mother. Yeah, that was a thing.
Oh, the Attitude Era. How much I miss you with your complete offensiveness and stuff that we would never see on TV today.
No, that's just, yeah. But this first match here on the actual Armageddon card The Radicals, the team of Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and Eddie Guerrero, took on the team of Team Extreme, Jeff and Matt Hardy, and Lita in a 6-person tag elimination match. It went 8 minutes, 6 seconds and got 2 1/4 star from the Wrestling Observer. The early stages of the match were dominated by Team Extreme as Jeff Hardy blocked Guerrero's Hurricane Rana, then hit a Swanton Bomb on Guerrero for the pinfall elimination. Jeff then nailed Poetry in Motion on Malenko. However, the momentum began to shift towards the Radicals when Malenko immediately tagged in Saturn, who eliminated Jeff with a Death Valley driver. Matt then came into the match and blindsided Saturn. Matt eventually nailed Twist of Fate to eliminate Saturn by pinfall. Afterwards, Radicals manager Terry, I forgot she was with the Radicals there for a minute. Terry Reynolds, do you remember her?
Yes, I do.
She's got a podcast, actually. Didn't you know that?
Oh, I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Yes, I think it's called Scars, and I can't remember. But she does that show with her and Dustin Rhodes' daughter, whose name escapes. Dakota, yeah.
I don't know how I remember that. it just popped in my head. I
know it's Terry and Dakota Reynolds do the show together.
Boy, was this match Attitude Era in all its glory, because any chance they got, they showed Terry Reynolds' underwear.
Yes, they did. She wore a dress that barely made it to the bottom of her butt cheeks. But yeah, after Matt eliminated Saturn with a pinfall, Terry slapped Matt, and then Lita speared her. Malenko took advantage and rolled Matt up from behind for the pin. Lita then performed head scissors kick on Malenko before hitting the lead assault, only to have him kick out at 2. After taking a subsequent DDT, Malenko superplexed Lita, then stopped his own pinfall. He pulled her up from the pin again after a backbreaker, and instead forced Lita to tap out to a Texas Cloverleaf. So he spent the last minute of this match beating the crap out of a small woman.
That's what I was going to say. Man, that was so uncomfortable to watch.
Oh, yeah. And when he's locking her in the Texas Cloverleaf and just, like, holding it in, and she's, like, beat to hell and just, like, half-heartedly tapping out because she's so dead, I'm like, damn. That was rough, man.
Yeah. It's crazy because it doesn't feel right, even though now we have matches that are intergender matches, and they play out a completely different way when they put, maybe it's because of the era, because now you have superstars like Tessa Blanchard and Charlotte Flair and women who kind of feel like, well, Becky Lynch for that matter, and women who kind of feel like if you were to put them in with certain men in matches, it would be believable to watch them fight the men and have a decent match with them. But back then, it didn't really feel like she belonged in that match, not taking away anything from her skills or not, but WWE never made it feel like, okay, Lita can beat Dean Malenko.
And I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, but, like, they had Tessa Blanchard beat Brian freaking Cage. Come the hell on, man.
Yeah.
Like, Tessa is a great wrestler, but what the hell? Next match, William Regal defended the European title against Hardcore Holly. This match went 4 minutes and 50 seconds and got 1 1/4 star from the Wrestling Observer. Regal's promo was actually cut short by Holly's entrance music, who went to quick work on Regal. After back and forth punches outside the ring, Regal finally got the momentum on his side when he hit Holly into a ring, sent Holly into a ring post. When the two came into the ring, Holly hit a belly-to-belly suplex for a near fall. Regal did a superplex on Holly for a 2 count as well. Holly took control from that point on until late in the bout when Raven interfered and hit the Raven effect on Holly, thus allowing Regal to take the easy pinfall victory. So we got Raven popping up in WWE.
I thought that was cool. I thought this was a solid match. I like the fact that both guys are hard-hitting and they don't hold back. So it's always fun to see that. I know it's not necessarily what people want to see in wrestling. That's why I got the star rating they got. But I always like to see Steven Regal fight people who will punch him back.
Yeah, and I always thought Holly was really good. I mean, he wasn't. I'm not one of those. Oh, he should have been a main eventer and should have been the world champion. I mean, he was fine. He was good. His matches when he was into them were solid outings. So
yeah, I agree.
Up next, we keep on with the man-on-woman violence. It's Val Venis with Ivory versus China. This went on for 5 minutes and 2 seconds and got a half a star from the Observer.
I have some questions for you about this match too. After you break it down, I ask the questions.
Alrighty. Well, the early portions of the match were dominated by China until Venus whipped her out of the ring, and Ivory started attacking China at ringside. The momentum swung back and forth until Ivory became more and more aggressive and interfering on Venus's behalf. She really got into China's head when she tripped her, causing China to chase her until Venus intercepted China and delivered a fisherman's suplex for the pinfall. China was about to beat up Ivory after the match, but Venus once again saved her from China's wrath, powerbombing China and then taking off. Couple things. This was when Ivory and Val Venis were part of the Right to Censor, and Venus hadn't quite changed his name to his actual name of Sean Morley yet, but they wrestled in suits. Ivory literally wrestled in a black skirt, and Venus was in a shirtless, a sleeveless white button-up and a black tie and slacks, and he had short hair. I have Jack's figures of China and Venus, by the way. What is it you wanted to ask?
I have a few questions, a few comments too. Which version of China did you prefer? Did you prefer the one who was more muscular and looked like kind of like heavier, or did you prefer this version of China who was kind of sleeker, more smoother, looked more like looked more ladylike?
For multiple reasons, I don't know. I like both versions. China, the way she debuted in DX and everything, I don't think would have gotten over to the point of what she did eventually, like later on as a single star.
Yes.
For many reasons. But she toned down a little bit, like her physique. She was still muscular and she was a, bodybuilding, bigger person, but she was like lean. That's the word I was looking for. She was more lean.
She looks like a woman.
Yeah, she was bulky, but she wasn't as bulky. It's kind of like the difference of you see Hulk Hogan in WWE, and then after, well, I'd say right before he left, like around WrestleMania 9, and then when he popped up in WCW, like he was still big and muscular, but he was lean and he wasn't all puffy, And yeah.
I find it interesting. I find her career interesting in that facet because one of the things I found interesting about China, and this match kind of confirmed it for me, that she would have did really well in this generation of wrestling.
I think so. I don't know. She was in the ring with a lot of good workers, and she wasn't terrible by any means. But
no, she wasn't terrible.
I don't know. She was more entertaining than she was like a fantastic worker.
I look at it like this. In the world of Awesome Kongs and Nia Jaxes and stuff like that, if China was still around, she'd be one of those people that people would kind of gravitate towards. And people don't give China her credit for credit doing. She's one of the first ones who really was doing that type of wrestling where she was wrestling guys and stuff like that. And she was kind of pushing the limits of women wrestling and kind of changing the standard, the cookie cutter standard of what WWE had at that time in terms of how, okay, every girl in WWE at the time looked like a model. And you had China and you had Lita, the two who were kind of off the beaten path, and China kind of paved the way with her even getting in Playboy for being so different and unique.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, there would be a place for her for sure in today's world of wrestling. But yeah, I don't know. She wasn't, like I said, she wasn't a fantastic worker by any means, but there would still be a place for her.
Yeah, like I said, I can see her being that, even that role like Awesome Kong was playing in Impact, right? Not Impact, in AEW right now. I can see her doing a role like that in WWE, being some kind of enforcer or being somebody like a big, cool version of a woman version of Braun Strowman or something like that, where she doesn't necessarily have to do these big, spectacular moves, but she's just such a big force and present that I think that she would be, if the women's revolution happened when she was around, she'd probably still be wrestling today.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, she could step away from the porn industry long enough, because that was a big deal. Like, that's why she didn't last in TNA.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to stop doing porn, and they didn't want a porn star on their roster, so, it was what it was. But next up, man, one of these guys is a mayor, and one of them is the world champion, not of WWE. It's Chris Jericho versus Kane in a last man standing match. It went 17 minutes, 16 seconds. It got just 2 stars from the Observer. This feud started at Survivor Series when Kane defeated Chris Jericho by pinfall. They would later fight again at Rebellion, which I definitely want to cover one of these days. It was one of those British pay-per-view, like they had the pay-per-view only in England.
Yes.
But they would fight later at Rebellion, only for Kane to defeat him. It was later announced on Raw is War that their feud would come to an end at Armageddon in the last man standing match. The match started as Kane attacked Jericho in the aisleway and quickly returned him to the backstage area. This is where I was hoping Greg would be able to join, but he'll pop for this when he hears it. Midian was attacked by both men as he was in their way. He was not quite naked yet, but he soon would be. Or maybe he was naked. I don't know. I don't remember. But Kane and Jericho finally made their way to the ring shortly afterwards. After connecting with a flying clothesline on Jericho, Kane delivered the chokeslam from hell. Jericho recovered and low-blowed Kane right in the ding-ding, who was about to hit him with a chair. Jericho had the momentum on his side once more and took advantage with a lion salt as Kane was lying face down on the chair. Kane took temporary control with a big boot until he dragged Jericho into the tech area. Jericho then knocked a ton of stacked barrels onto Kane to keep him down for 10 seconds and the victory.
I liked everything about this match except the stacked barrels. Stacked barrels look stupid.
They always do something goofy like that in these.
It looked really dumb because when he pushed the barrels over, none of them moved.
Yeah.
So it was like a wall of barrels just falling on him. Like that's
it was like
physics work.
Like a set piece, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird. But I don't know. This was not. I believe Jericho was in another last man standing match with Triple H and he lost, if I remember correctly. Jericho was the baby face at the time. I think he was the heel here. We get to hear this lovely music again as the Right to Censor, Bull Buchanan, and the Good Father defended the WWF tag titles against Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, and Road Dogg and K-Quick, also known as R-Truth.
Yep.
What is R-Truth up to now? The 5,000 time 24/7 champion?
Oh my God.
I hate that so much. For all of you, though, by the way, something else I hated was the Right to Censor. Yeah. Stevie Richards was in their corner, or Steven Richards. I have a Jax figure of him, believe it or not. Good Father was the Godfather, but he was forced to join the Right to Censor when he lost to them, and then all of a sudden he just decided to fall in line, and he changed his name to the Good Father. He started wearing glasses. Really weird. Yeah, it's so bad. And I love the Godfather, so I hated this. And if nobody has ever heard the Right to Censor theme song, it's literally just like a siren going off. And it's the worst thing ever. It's worse than Scott Steiner's theme. The Right to Censor started off the match attacking the Dudleys. Devon responded with a back elbow on Buchanan. After a period of double teaming, Steven Richards attempted to interfere on the team's behalf and DDT Devon just when it looked like the Dudleys had won the match. It didn't go quite as planned for Richards, though, as Edge speared Bubba Ray, and Christian nailed the Unprettier on Bubba for the pin and to win the titles. So I just realized I didn't write down a star rating for this, but I'm going to assume it wasn't good.
Half a star. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah. It was fine. ENC win the belts again. So, god dang it, championships, pal. Speaking of just fine, the one Billy Gunn defended the Intercontinental Championship up next against Chris Benoit. Billy Gunn, another victim of Rape the Censor. He was Mr. Ass, as some may remember. And his theme song said, "I'm an ass man." Well, Rape the Censor beat him. So he had to change his name and his theme. So he changed it to The One Billy Gunn. And the people that made the Ass Man song made another theme. People hated on it because it wasn't Ass Man, but I thought his theme song as The One Billy Gunn was pretty sweet.
This was a good match.
This was fine. I like both of these guys. It went 10 minutes and 3 seconds, I think, and it got 2 stars from the Observer.
I thought it was a solid match. I thought it was actually fun, good match, and it kind of like made me miss Chris Benoit. Like, damn, this is a really good match. That like a loss. I want to say it's kind of a loss. If you want to see a solid Chris Benoit match, this is a good one. It shows how good Billy Gunn actually is. I feel like these guys, if given more, could have done some good stuff together.
Yeah, the problem with Billy apparently with singles, his singles run, besides the fact that they felt he wasn't getting over the extent they wanted him to, Billy had asthma, which is why they always put him in tag matches, because he didn't have to exacerbate himself. So
he must have had it really bad then.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to have great cardio to be a wrestler. Like, it's unlike anything else in the world. So, but Benoit got the initial momentum with a series of stomps on Gunn until he was thrown out of the ring. Benoit locked in the figure 4 leg lock when the action returned to the ring, but Gunn managed to struggle his way to the ropes, forcing Benoit to release the hold. Gunn started to gain some momentum with a jackhammer, oddly enough, followed by the Fame Asser. Yes, Fame Asser. That's what he called his finisher. Which would only netted him a near fall. Benoit then caught Gunn in the crippler crossface, but Gunn got his foot on the ropes, again forcing Benoit to release the hold. Gunn was showing signs of injury with a knee when his knee buckled during a tilt-a-whirl on Benoit. Benoit took advantage and once again applied the crippler crossface on Gunn, forcing a submission, and therefore becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. So it was a clean sweep for the Radicals that night. And, yeah, up next, man, this one, they overbooked the hell out of this. There's 3 of the better wrestlers in the, female wrestlers in the company, too. It was Ivory from Right to Censor defending her women's title in a triple threat against Molly Holly and Trish Stratus. It went 2 minutes, 12 seconds. And it got a half a star.
Can you imagine if they had a 2 minute and 12-second match in a women's match in WWE today? A triple threat match at that matter.
Right. On a pay-per-view.
People would lose their...
Yeah. It wasn't good, man. But... yeah, this was Molly Holly when she still had the blonde hair and long blonde hair, and Trish Stratus was with T&A, not TNA, T&A, Tested Albert.
Yes.
Molly's
booty shorts on.
Yes, more T&A from her. Molly started it off with an attack on Stratus before being monkey flipped. Molly was then double suplexed by Stratus and Ivory. Molly hit a crossbody for a near fall on Stratus after wasting some time to drag Ivory out of position to break up the pin. Test and Albert interfered in the match as Ivory picked up the win. After the match, Molly's cousin Crash came out to challenge T&A with the APA. the APA, Crash, and Molly Holly then successfully beat up TNA. That was just complete nonsense.
Yes. The best part of this match was the APA coming out.
Yeah, I love me some APA, but that was just such nonsense. This whole thing sucked. This
was super bad.
This was clearly the bathroom break before the main event. And speaking of the main event, it's the first and last time anything like this ever happened. It was the Armageddon Hell in a Cell match for the WWF World's Heavyweight title. 6 men in the Hell in a Cell. It was a one fall to a finish. Kurt Angle defended his championship against Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H, and Rikishi. One of these things is not like the other.
Oh man, it's funny seeing him in this match.
Yeah, I have Jack's figures, by the way, of Kurt Angle, Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H, and Rikishi. So all 6 of them.
So you can recreate this match.
I could. Oy vey. It went for 32 minutes, 14 seconds, and it was a really good match. It got 4 1/4 star from the Observer.
It was a solid match. Also, we want to see you recreate this match with your Jack's figures.
Maybe. Should have had Naked Midian in this match, but, whatever.
Yeah.
At No
Even
Mercy.
odds.
Yeah. At No Mercy, Kurt Angle won the championship from The Rock in a no disqualification match. Kurt would later retain the title against The Undertaker at Survivor Series and again at Rebellion in a fatal 4-way match against The Rock, Rikishi, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Commissioner Mick Foley would later announce on SmackDown that Kurt Angle would have to defend his title in the 6-man Hell in a Cell. Mr. McMahon would try desperately to get all 6 men to back out, but ultimately failed to do so. The early portion of the match saw several pinfall attempts by all participants. During this time, Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson, and Gerald Briscoe were working together to stop the match by attempting to demolish the cell with a truck. They literally, literally had a giant truck, and the bed of it was full of hay because reasons. They backed it to the ring and nailed the cell. That was the dumbest part of this match. It gets better, I swear.
Yes, it does. That was awful.
Yeah. Well, they had just torn down the cell door when Commissioner Foley ordered the trio to allow the match to run its course. The trio ignored Foley, and the commissioner sent the police to escort McMahon out of the arena as he fought Patterson and Briscoe. Couple things. One, it's Vince's company. How was he allowed? Why was the commissioner always bossing around the owner? Shawn Michaels did the same damn thing at WrestleMania 15. Now in the archives, go listen to that. The podcast was fine, but the stuff around it was stupid. And the second thing, Patterson, I don't know, but Briscoe at that age could still stretch the hell out of Foley. So, whatever. As a result of the missing door, everyone involved in the match exited the cell because, of course, they did. They started climbing to the top of the structure. As Rikishi was fighting off both Angle and Undertaker, the Undertaker chokeslammed Rikishi off the cell and into, this says pine chips, but it looked like hay, that filled the bed of the truck used by McMahon. Gotta take the bump, pal.
You can see the end of the world from here! Don't! Don't! Oh no, it's scary! Oh my God! Don't do it! Don't do it, Undertaker! No! Oh God! Oh God! Rikishi right on the top of the cage! Right into the bed of that truck!
I will say, obviously there were crash pads and crap in there for him to land on.
Yeah.
Still couldn't have been comfortable. And also, that's still scary as hell, a gigantic 300-pound man falling backwards off of that giant cell into a truck. That's... yeah. I would have been like, you better give me one hell of a damn bonus after this.
It was a cool visual.
It was, and it's iconic, and I'm like, it was weird, and it was scary as all hell. Like, as Rikishi, I would have been like, yeah, what are you paying me for this? But, yeah, so Austin and Rock had a stare down inside of the cell and traded blows. Rock delivered the spine buster onto Austin, but was clotheslined by Triple H before he could hit the people's elbow on Austin. The Rock then punched Triple H out of the ring and nailed the rock bottom on Angle. Stone Cold recovered to stop the count and hit a stunner on the Rock, but Triple H broke up the pin and received a neck breaker from Austin. Angle snuck on top of the Rock and pinned him to retain the WWF title, only to receive a stunner from Austin. Damn.
Rewatching this felt awesome. Because this is what it feels like to when you have big stars in a marquee match.
Yeah. All of these guys were legit. I mean, Rikishi was what he was, but
the exception. But everybody in this match was a super established star who can easily, main event WrestleMania by themselves.
Oh yeah, they were all huge names, been big names for a while. Triple H, I think, was like the newest one to the main eventers club at that point. But all of them former world champions, and it was good stuff. It was absolute chaos, and I realize we dogged on aspects of this match, but it really was good. Like I say, got 4 1/4 star. Don't lean on everything Uncle Dave has to say about a match, but it was still really good.
Yeah, it was I thought it was a great match, honestly. I thought it was great. It was fun. And it reminded me of kind of what wrestling is missing today in terms of how not only just the big names, but the characters who feel like they're larger than life. And I feel like the WWE's hitting this kind of point where you don't really have those characters like you used to. Even Brock Lesnar, who is a larger than life character, but he's been around forever.
Yeah, and he's in my opinion, he's run his course.
Yeah.
Like if I don't see him again for another couple of years, I'm fine.
Yeah, it kind of bothers. That's kind of what bothers me about it, wrestling in general, in terms of like how Seth Rollins, great wrestler, but I wouldn't call him a larger than life character. I don't think he transcends wrestling like a Stone Cold or a Rock does, or even a John Cena does for that matter. I feel like that's what WWE's missing at this point in time, with those characters that you can put in any atmosphere and they're good. Roman Reigns is kind of getting there, but you really don't have that now. And I kind of missed. Maybe I'm kind of saying that we were kind of spoiled back then, because we had so many great wrestlers, so many big personalities, that now that we don't have it, we kind of miss it.
Well, and the thing about this match was like what I described leading up to it was like Angle narrowly escaped with his title against various challengers at previous pay-per-views, and then this one, the odds are stacked against him. He is the defending champion going in against 4 other big stars and Rikishi, and it's like is he gonna make it or not? You don't know. There's no way he's getting out of there with the title. But bloody and broken, he snuck one out. It was a pick'em. Any of these guys, and Rikishi was, we're dogging on him, but he was being built up as a big name at the time.
Yes.
He just had that thing where he ran over Stone Cold, but did he? It just that storyline was so stupid and convoluted. But regardless, anybody could have won that match, and you wouldn't have been surprised the next night on Raw, one of them walking out with the title, and you're like, oh yeah, he won. Okay.
That's the cool thing about that match, because almost anybody probably with the exception of Rikishi, could have won that match, and people wouldn't have been mad at it at all.
Yeah, it was a pick 'em, basically, and I always like that stuff. And that's a lot of stuff today is missing that. As a follow up to the show, though, Commissioner Mick Foley considered resigning due to a promise that he had made on Sunday Night Heat, where he said that if anyone suffered a serious injury in the Hell in a Cell match, he would resign as commissioner. Instead, Foley chose to keep his job due to support from Steve Austin and the WWF fans. However, on the December 18th episode of Raw is War, when the board of directors deemed Linda McMahon incompetent to continue being CEO due to a kayfabe nervous breakdown, they granted Vince McMahon 100% control of the WWF, allowing him to fire Foley as commissioner. So I get that. Linda hired him, and she was in kayfabe above Vince, so she gave him the power. All right, cool. I get it. But still, it's still wacky.
Yeah, that's that WWE wacky writing back then.
Yep. Commissioner is above the owner, pal.
I get why they do that. I just think they can do a better job of doing that.
Right. The thing with Shawn Michaels blew my mind back in the day, though. If anybody has not listened to our WrestleMania 15 episode, it was one of our might be our most listened to episode of all time, which blew my mind because I don't know if you remember WrestleMania 15. That show sucked.
Which one is that?
That was Rock Austin 1.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Stone Cold forgot his vest, so he came out in a T-shirt. Him and Rock wrestled all over the arena. The match wasn't all that good. And everything else leading up to it on the card was pretty crap. I'll just say. But people love them some Attitude Era. It's our most listened to episode of all time, I believe. So, but yeah, Commissioner Shawn Michaels did some wacky stuff with McMahon. All right. Anything else you wanted to add before we sign off here?
That is it, my brother.
All right. Well, real quick, the next couple weeks here on the Podcast Wrestling Society, on December 18th, we will be dropping a classic Starrcade review. There, as of right now, there is a poll, bro, up on Twitter. Bro. It's only going to be a couple days so that, I can actually have time to watch the damn thing before we review it. But yeah, I'm going to put a few classic Starrcades up there, and you guys can choose from them. We did Starrcade 97 last week, so go check that out. And then December 25th, on Christmas, we will be reviewing NWA Clash of the Champions 4 Seasons Beatings. We got to stick with the holiday. So go check that out. Sticking with mostly WCW, but
I love WCW and that nonsense.
I love going back as much as people like dog on it, whatever. And there was a lot of stupid stuff. Classic NWA, man. I love going back and watching it, and I love reviewing it. It's just cool to see.
It's great.
Yeah, like I said before, go check out Delvin. He's got the Delvin Cox experience and the PlayStation experience on basically anywhere you can listen to podcasts. For some reason, Apple Podcasts is on the fritz right now. I tagged them on Twitter to yell at them like a normal, sane person would do.
Of course, that's supposed to do.
Yeah, but I tagged them and was like, hey, what's up, dudes? And it's not just me. He was doing the same thing for Santiago, so it's not just my phone. But yeah, hopefully it's working by now. Go check us out. And Delvin and everything else, go check them out at Delvin_Cox on all social media, basically. Thank you for hopping in here with me at the last minute, man.
No problem, brother.
And we will come at you all next week. Later.